So a 7th generation iPod Touch in 2019. Does this make any sense? Hey guys, Apple has officially today released on May 28th, 2019, a 7th generation iPod Touch. Now there's a few reasons I believe is into why Apple has released a 7th generation iPod Touch this time of the year. And it kind of clarifies a few things. And of course, in this video, I'm going to give you guys a breakdown of what's new with the iPod Touch 7th generation in comparison to previous models like the 6th generation iPod Touch and below. So there's a few things you need to know right away. The first thing is that the iPod Touch 7th generation comes in the exact same colors as the 6th generation iPod Touch, and the iPod Touch 7th generation is identical to the 6th generation iPod Touch. We have the headphone jack, the lightning, the speaker, the Apple logo, the camera, the weight, the width, the size of the display, everything is pretty much identical. Also, I want to talk about iOS 13 and how this ties to everything that's going to be happening next week at WWDC. Let me set up this iPod and we'll get to that. So the 7th generation iPod Touch in 2019, does this make sense? Why would Apple release a product which is physically identical to a previous generation? No Touch ID, no Face ID. We have an upgraded capacity to 256 for $399 and a faster processor. The Apple A10 processor is inside the iPod Touch 7th generation, which is identical to what we find on the iPhone 7s and 7 Plus. Now, why would Apple release this product so close to the summer of 2019? Now, if you talk about software, that's where this becomes apparent, right? This is the reason why Apple most likely updated the iPod Touch to the 7th generation with a faster A10 processor. iOS 13 Beta 1 will most likely make its debut on June 3rd at WWDC. And the previous generation iPod Touch just couldn't pull the weight. So Apple needed to refresh the iPod lineup for those who enjoy the iPod in order to support the software iOS 13. Now, there's a few questions here. This has an A10 processor, which is found, as I mentioned, on the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. So what does that mean? By Apple releasing an iPod Touch with an A10 processor inside, this means every device that carries the A10 processor will get iOS 13 support, so iPhone 7 on up. However, iPhone-wise, this leaves a big question on these other devices. The iPhone 6 will most likely not get support for iOS 13, and most questionable, the iPhone SE, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. These have the Apple A9 processor, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but this could mean that Apple will be dropping from the list the iPhone SE and the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus from iOS 13 support. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they just added the A10 processor into the brand new iPod Touch 7th generation just because. But I'm hoping that Apple does support A9 devices on up. Definitely a lot of power in these devices here. Now, I have to admit, I'm kind of disappointed with the upgrades. I was hoping for a full display on the iPod Touch, maybe some upgraded cameras, something new, something fresh, other than just a processor bump and just minor storage increase. But let me know your thoughts in those comments down below. What do you think about the 7th generation iPod Touch? And which device do you own? Do you own an iPhone 6, 6 Plus, 6S, 6S Plus, or SE? What do you think? iOS 13, will these devices be left out now that Apple released an A10 processor iPod Touch 7th generation? We'll find out on June 3rd for sure, but I would like to know your thoughts in those comments down below. Thank you for watching today's video, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.